Welcome to the Big Biz Show, featuring insight, analysis, and a lot of stuff that's none of your business.
Hold on. This is the Big Biz Show. I think it is their business.
Making the markets work for you. Here's the man with the plan, Sully.
Well, here we are, live at the Loft Owner Studios in sunny San Diego, California, after another Padre lost weekend. Can I just tell you that I think that there needs to be a caste system in Major League Baseball, where you have the haves and the have-nots. Haves are wins. Otherwise, you are relegated, down to, like soccer. I think it's called
Premier League soccer.
It's called relegation, right? I think it's called relegation.
Yeah.
You get relegated down, and I don't care if you're Man City.
Play better.
If your Man City falls to the bottom, you're below that line. Play better.
Yeah, play better. Great way to say it.
I just had to bitch about that. Howie Font's here. Howie Font, live from New York City. What's going on in the markets? What's going on in your world of finance here? Howard, did you have a nice weekend? Did you have a nice flush to your face? Did you go to Central Park this weekend and chase parked cars?
Well, it's wonderful May showers, so not so much, but I don't know what the flush is from. If we're gonna have a cast,
I think we do. It's called going to what we like to call Sunday services at the local bar from 2 to 8 last night. Go.
Yeah.
So
it was an Irish service.
Perfect. What's happening?
So we've had this big moderate uptrend in the market the last couple of weeks, but it's been a mostly calm, flat few days. We did see something you'll be interested in, Sully. The Dow touched 40K, 400,000.
Yep.
That's pretty amazing if you think about the historical levels it's been at. And, yeah.
It's interesting you bring that up because it is in my mind, well, not in my mind, it's just a milestone. So here's what's interesting. Yeah. When the Dow went from 1,000 to 2,000, that was a big deal. And when the Dow went from 9,000 to 10,000, that was a huge deal. At some point, though, the amount of days it takes for you to get from 10,000 to 11,000 is much longer than it takes you to get from, what are we at now, 35,000? Something like that? What do we close?
We just touched 4. We just touched 40.
Okay. So for the distance between 40,000 and 41,000 is a New York minute. Okay, it's not like, it is, what I want to see is the next big milestone we need to be talking about is not 45, it needs to be 50. And then 60 from there, because it's just a psychological barrier. It means literally nothing in the market.
That's right. It's percentage. And the actual round numbers are, like you said, only psychological. The S&P hitting 5,000 was big for a lot of people. Should it? Do we deserve it?
No.
Sorry, guys.
What it does tell you, though, Howie, is that our sentiment is of the emotions of the market. I mean, the market, in my opinion, runs on fear and greed and institutional trading. So you and I buying shares of Apple don't really move the needle on the market as much as institutional guys do. However,
3 small forces.
Right, but the fear and greed index does play into this thing, and what I'm seeing here is we're going into a bull market. I mean, it's clear. The bear market
That's exactly right.
This bear market is we're on the off ramp of the bear market. We may not be the off ramp of recession or inflation, although I would argue that we probably are, just not as fast as we thought because it's sticky, because we're still spending money. But this market's about to rally. And the good news is when we come out of a bear market, which we've had for, what has it been, a year now, Howie? Close to a year officially?
A little over a year, actually.
It's when we breach, it's when we breach 10% and 5% of previous highs. So just look out and be ready. Get some dry powder going because we're gonna have some really good. And by the way, bull markets last way longer than bear markets last. So we're gonna have a good uptrend coming up.
And people get paid to manage money, and if you're gonna manage money, you got to have it in the market.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're
not at risk, you're not going to make anything, right, Howie?
That's right. That's right. There's job risk for these pension funds and these money managers, and they've got to get invested. So now's as good a time as any.
Devin wants to be smartasthowie.org is their website. Howie wants to be as cool as Devin is the other website.
That's the website, yes.
See you tomorrow, dude. All right. We'll continue this conversation coming up. Big Biz Show. See you in a minute.
175 countries and all the ships at sea on the American Forces Network. All you brave men and women, United States Armed Forces, we are eternally grateful here on the Big Biz Show. In the Loft 100 studios, Costa, Maribert Godwin, Greg Todorov.
Only 5 more sleeps to the weekend. Oh,
Yeah.
welcome to your Monday. Is next Monday Memorial Day?
Yeah.
Whew.
And then it's the end of school.
Comes around.
Wait a second.
Yeah.
Hold the phone, Chuck.
Where? May 31st.
DTC, you guys are freaking on fire the last couple.
Love the claw. Yep.
Which makes me think, what the hell you been doing until today? Nice job, you guys. Wait, did you just say? Father's Day? Memorial Day?
Memorial Day, and then 4 days later is the last day of school for my kids. They get out on May 31st, not even June. And there's some high schools that get out maybe the following weekend, and then Father's Day is 2 weeks later.
Okay, so I want to talk about the Howie's. We'll do that at the end of the show.
Okay.
I want to talk about this for a second.
Yeah.
So kids are out of school now?
Yeah, almost.
Or does it surprise you?
I don't know how it happened. Literally, I
'Cause
blinked, and now
for
all of
us-
a sudden it's
For you two, you have kids in school, and your whole lives are circling around what their schedules are. For me, it's like, oh, it's Christmas.
Exactly.
Yeah, but it goes so quickly. Once February hits, all of a sudden it's just
Yeah, but these little minions today, they are out of
Minions?
class more than they are in class.
Drunken midgets?
Them too.
Can I say that?
The whole group. There's so many
minor
days.
and dance after that. They're never home.
But no, they're never in school. There's this day and there's this day and there's this teacher happy hour day and all this other stuff where
Matt Chess, our chief of the boat, as I call it, Sergeant Reis, was a high school baseball coach, high school golf coach, was a high school teacher. Forever, and retired. And as a good friend of mine, I said, he's the spry young age of 50-something. He's not old at all. He's got
still wouldn't mess with him.
35 good summers.
Yeah.
And brought him in here, and happy to have him here because I said, look, we got people here that you're used to herding 400 kittens into a wheelbarrow every day for the last 20 years. Mm-hmm. You should do this. Matt, come up here to the set here. Let's give him a handheld or something because I think he would be the person to ask about because in the day, we went to school until when? June, was it?
You went the day after, you arrived the day after Labor Day, and then you went into June.
See, now they start in early August.
But wait a
So
it's
it's opposite. They
But
start
to,
early.
but to defend this because Matt still has a heart. You know, I love going out to dinner with Matt and seeing a 40-year-old woman come up to him and said, "I was in your social studies class."
Mr. Chess.
This is a topic I'd love to talk about with you. So first of all, you were back when there was 3 months of summer, 2-week Christmas vacation, week off for Thanksgiving.
Not even a week.
No, back in the day.
Wednesday,
Right.
Get out half day Wednesday. Yeah.
And look at it. Listen, you guys can't. You guys gave up making the big bucks in exchange for teaching the youth, but having a pretty secure future because of pension.
Sure.
Just like police officers do, and such. Talk about what they're talking about now, where we're going to school. There's a teacher service day or whatever. So can you defend it? Would you defend it or not? Now that you're out of sort of the business.
It's definitely changed over time, and I think part of the change has come from more families have both parents working, and so you have to consider that, and you have to announce these days in advance to take in consideration childcare date and pickup and all the other things like that. I think the old school way of doing it was really predictable and made sense, but the other thing that's changed is, at least at the high school level, it's not necessarily true for the younger, is they try to align more of what they do with all the kids to take AP tests. And these AP tests end in May.
And that's
Advanced placement tests, and they're college prep
My kid just
tests.
had one yesterday.
And then it's sort of like, well, what do you do after those are done the middle of May to the rest of the year? And if it's to the end of May, like you're doing now, then that's more manageable. But if you're actually doing it for a whole month and to take those AP exams, you have to have gone through the whole material. So
I love how you're talking on the kids' side. I love how you're looking at it from the parents and the kids' side because we don't think that the teachers are. I think oftentimes we think teachers are out for themselves. Did you get that? Was that kind of a bad rap?
I think that is a bad rap for my experience.
Then, Mr. Chess, defend Ski Week.
Thank you. Fall break.
Just got
So that's
when you and I get here.
that's a parent-driven thing rather than a school-driven
Is
thing.
it really?
Oh yeah, ski week and the
See,
things like
you guys
that.
have a bad PR team.
Here's what.
because you teachers getting blamed for everything. You guys need a better PR firm. It's like Detroit. Detroit is a beautiful city. I love Detroit. Like Detroit, you teachers are getting a bad rap then.
Let me give you a really specific example. Thanksgiving, when we were kids, we got out. We went to Wednesday to a half day, and then you had Thursday and the rest of the week. So many people stopped showing up that week in advance, and that equals money to the school district, right? Butts and seats equals money, and with all these people, same things happen with, and rightfully so, certain holidays in certain communities. If there's a Jewish holiday and there's a significant Jewish population.
Do they modify for population just
They
like
do.
with district lines for population for District 1? Because y'all want to try to keep it equal.
It's not extreme, but they do take in consideration the population they're serving.
Then or now, in your opinion, would you rather be a teacher then or a teacher now? And would you rather be a student then or a student now?
So I think that's a really multiple faceted question. I enjoyed teaching from the beginning because that's what I learned, and it felt very different at the end. And so I would say I preferred back in the good old days. But with the advent of new tools and new opportunities and new technology, it's probably better for kids in some ways, more active.
Do you think that some of this time off that they're giving kids and teachers is to help benefit teachers? Because they're there at school during the school hours, but then when everyone goes home, they are now cleaning up their classroom, they're grading, they're not meal prepping.
You're not getting paid for the hours like you.
Right.
It's not a 9-to-5 job, and
So
all the grading happens before or after.
Right.
You meet with kids who are struggling before or after.
What about the money thing? What about the money thing where when I was in high school, I didn't have to buy my own football uniform. The teachers were not buying their own felt pens and stuff like that. When did that happen, and why is that okay? Or is it not okay?
I think that's a parent-driven thing too about equity. This school over here that has all these really nice things, and ours can't afford them, and so a number of things.
Because I always hear about teachers having to buy their own school supplies.
Well, we do, but we also get a tax break for that. You get to report a certain amount of that, but you do. We used to be given all of our supplies. We used to have a veritable staples to draw from, and then it became here's a box of paper clips. Good luck.
This is like when the police officers have to buy their own guns and belts. It's like you work for, there should be a closet. Go pick one out that fits.
Right. There's a funny little.
Might go to the other closet.
There's a little conundrum here too, because people say all the time to me, "Oh, you guys are so underpaid," but at the same time, they don't want to pay the taxes.
Right.
To pay them more, and about 80+% of a school district's budget is the people that work there.
I'm going to wrap this up in a bow in terms of money. How did you, as a teacher and a coach, budget for not getting paid for 3 months back in the day? Or did you have an option to get paid? Because remember, you're off for 3 months in the summertime, and you had, I'm assuming, you got paid for, or did you always have?
We had an 11-month pay. We weren't paid.
So how did you even budget for a month off? I mean, many Americans couldn't do that.
Credit cards.
Okay.
And then I started the year. Well, it's funny because the first paycheck you pay that you receive, you really don't work many days.
But you also have to buy school supplies.
But you do. No, some people were better. Some people. I always did some work too, some coaching and things like that to offset it.
So what was the coaching like back then versus when you retired and now? Because I know I walk around with you. How long were you a teacher for again?
30 years.
Yeah, so I see people that are now close to 40 years old that come up to you, like when we're having dinner, and they look like grown, and they got kids and stuff. I loved your class. So you were there then and now. Talk about the coaching part of the thing.
Coaching's gotten harder. A lot more pressure, and it isn't as much about. It used to be about winning and losing. Was sort of
it's about individual athletes making it to the pros.
Coaches are on a 1-year contract.
That's
your teaching contract.
That doesn't say a lot.
Year to year.
That's like Art Howe. That's like Art Howe for the A's. Right? It does.
Right.
I mean, it doesn't give me a lot of confidence that I should be around.
So they're on an annual contract, and the measuring tool used to be, a general sort of efficiency of your program, winning and losing, and how the kids are being dealt. But more and more, this is not all parents, but more and more parents seem to think that their child's going to go off to be the next whatever, or get a college scholarship or what have you.
Exactly. Well, the money side of it's interesting to me. And now that you go into, did you guys look forward to, as Mary is not looking forward to, You know that the Target commercial. It's the most wonderful time of the year when the kids are going back to school. Are you looking forward to? Did you look forward to summer, or did you look forward to coming back?
I loved summer. I was exhausted. We all were. The kids were. The teachers were. The administration was. The parents were. Everybody was exhausted. And it's you were talking about from February to the end of the year is a literal blur. March is the roughest month of the year because it's the only day other than October that doesn't have a day off. And then all of a sudden you've got spring break, you got Memorial Day, you got.
And then it's here.
And then boom, you're out.
You don't miss teaching as much though since you're here now though, right?
I miss the experience of teaching, but I don't miss the job of it. I'm having much more fun on this job.
The difference is here, nobody's
Matt
learning
Chess
where
for
they come
president. Thanks, buddy. All right, coming up. What are we doing? We're going to talk to Eric Schlorff. Coming up, another biotech firm that is taking on difficult diseases. By the way, they're the guys from Stock Symbol ICU. Got a lot of email from them last time. More Big Biz coming up. Stand by.
The Big Biz Show from the Loft 100 studios in sunny Southern California. In over 175 countries, all the ships at sea on the American Forces Network. And as always, you brave men, women in the United States Armed Forces, thank you for what you do, what you have done for us. Costa, Mary Beth Godwin, Greg Todorov, and Sully.
Hey, good to see you. So, I'm excited to talk to our next guest. What, can you give a hand for the frickin' day trip?
I was just going to say that too.
You didn't even make eye contact when you threw out the 1-2.
No, I was going to say
got
that
you.
too. They sound good today. Not that they don't always sound good.
Right.
They sound particularly
The
good.
best.
There are some days where they're.
Well, they left.
Yeah,
the,
you think?
They left the game early, Mike. I want to talk to our next guest, Eric Schlorff. He's the CEO of C-Star Medical Holding Corp. Really good guy. I've had a chance to talk to him off the air a number of times, and I think we're going to be covering this stock because it's really interesting. Every time I get blood work done, my blood work is great except for this thing called CRP, C-reactive protein. It's inflammation. Okay, and we all have this inflammation thing. So I've been on a mission. I'm going to take raw turmeric and ginger and all that's in a shake.
Uninflame.
To uninflame. And there is a thing called hyperinflammation. And coupled with another deadly disease, it is a life-threatening sort of outcome. So I bring you once again my good friend Eric Schlorff. He's the CEO of C-Star Medical Holding Corp. They are publicly traded under the stock symbol ICU. Eric, thanks for coming back with us.
Well, thank you so much for having me. Good to see everybody.
Talk to us, for the people that didn't get to see you last time or to hear you last time, let's talk one more time about what you guys are aiming to do and about the disease that you guys are going to attack here.
Yeah, so if you think about think about inflammation. Inflammation obviously is something we all deal with on a daily basis, but in the event where inflammation gets out of control or dysregulated, we through our SCD, or selective cytophoretic device, are able to actually repair and restore the immune system back to homeostasis. And it's interesting, that you talk about turmeric and ginger, whatever that you've been taking to reduce inflammation. We call it our product's called Quelimmune, which I love. I love the brand name of that because that's essentially what we do: is we quell the immune system.
Eric, if you saw me with my shirt off, you'd go, "Wow, you are really inflamed. You need you need a lot of our medicine." But how many people who may say, "Look, I'm fit. I do all this, I do this," might still be suffering from it?
Well, the chronic inflammation obviously is a very large problem, and I think that there are probably a lot of people around the U.S. and around the world that are carrying it around, and they don't even know it. It kind of builds up over time. The immune system doesn't get back into balance, and then they have to turn into attend the ICU or be admitted to the ICU to get kind of life-saving therapies, which we consider ours to be really one of the premier therapies especially for children with acute kidney injury with a septic condition.
Interestingly enough, and I think Eric, I learned this from you. Isn't cancer basically inflammation as well in some respects?
Yeah, look, there's different ways that cancer can work. I mean, some of the drugs that are out there, they're actually trying to increase the inflammation. Some are trying to take it down. At the end of the day, everything is about homeostasis. If we are, and when I say homeostasis, is that if everything is in balance, life is great. When things go one way or the other, that's when we have problems.
True.
And that's essentially what happens in many cancers, many chronic diseases. You can think of neurologic diseases. It's so broad, quite frankly, and we just don't have good tools to be able to address it.
And Eric, is it how is it administered? Is it a pill form or injected? And do you do it to prevent inflammation, or do you do it once you've already established that you have an issue with it?
Yeah. So the second question. So it's after it's actually out of control. So we have been relegated, at least initially, to the sickest of the sick patients that we tend to bring back to life, and then they walk out of the hospital without being on dialysis for the rest of their life. By the way, it is not a pill. I would love I wish it was a pill, and I wish it was an IV injection. But it turns out that it's actually kind of an extracorporeal therapy. So it means it takes the blood outside the body. We treat it in real time and essentially conducting autologous cell therapy, which means self-changing of the cells in real time. And we're reprogramming those cells, and they go back into the body to signal that the cytokine storm is over. And that's essentially what we do. And so this is something that is right now connected to a dialysis circuit, is the best way to put it. Everybody knows dialysis, but we're doing dialysis on a continuous basis in the intensive care unit, where this is a simple bolt-on, takes about 15 minutes for the hospital staff to change it out daily for this disposable model.
Eric Schlorff is his name. He's the CEO of C-Star Medical Holding Corp, stock symbol ICU. Eric, talk to us about the FDA and where you are on that journey down that path to getting the drug to us.
Yeah, so for children, so today in children, we have a pathway today, which is approved through humanitarian device. So that's less than 4,000 children. So we have the ability now to go and sell that for a profit, which is an amazing feat for any kind of company to get over that first hurdle. And quite frankly, that begins to then de-risk the rest of the pipeline. On the adult side, we're in the midst of running a clinical study, which you see up here, in adults for acute kidney injury. That was one of 3 breakthrough device designations we have with the FDA. What we've guided the market today is that we should be at around 100 patients enrolled, or halfway, by the end of this year, and then fully enrolled by the middle of next year, which then kind of takes us to probably around 12 to 18 months after that to get full approval in adults. Now, that's a much larger market.
And will there be a compassionate care program when the time is right, in your opinion?
Most likely. At least in some indications there will be. We actually get compassionate use cases all the time. We get requests for them. It just depends on some of them that we can fulfill and some that we can't.
Sure. For you as a publicly traded, as CEO of a publicly traded company, obviously you can tell us only so much. But insofar as the rest of the year goes, what are we looking forward to in terms of a breakthrough, in terms of research, into the FDA, and even in terms of you guys as a business model and a company?
Yeah, look, I mean, we're weeks away from our first sale. And that's obviously, being a commercial company is obviously what all companies strive to do: take things through development, get it to a commercial stage, and then actually get that first purchase order so we get that sale. So I'd say we're probably weeks away on that, which is what we've guided the market. And then, on the clinical study on adults, that's a very large market, 200,000 patients. So you do 200,000 times 10 to 20,000, and you get a big number.
Sure, exactly.
On an annual basis. And so, it's just really we're methodical. We just announced a couple of weeks ago that we received through one of our partners an NIH grant. So National Institute of Health actually is funding a $3.7 or $3.6 million study to test this concept in cardiorenal patients.
Well, and that's a vote of confidence, I hear, when you're getting NIH money. I mean, let's face it, they wouldn't be doing that if it were Mike's shoelace retipping company, which is not doing so well after all. His name is Eric Schlorff. He is the CEO of ICU.
Just because I can't bend over to look at my shoes.
I want you in San Diego, brother. I want to sit down with you and talk to you here on the set at some point. Thank you, Eric. Appreciate it. Eric Schlorff is his name. Get over here. Come on. Big Biz Show. Much more to come. We're going to talk about nervous system and how nervous Mike's system has become since he stopped eating red vines and drinking beer through them. Big Biz Show. Loft 100 Studios, the Big Biz Show, and our affiliates and our hosts are not registered investment advisors or broker-dealers.
Our show hosts make no commitment that the purchase of securities of companies profiled or otherwise mentioned in our programming
are suitable or advisable for any person, or that an investment in such securities will be profitable in general.
Given the nature of the company's profile and the lack of an active trading market for the securities, investing is highly speculative and carries a certain high degree of risk.
We profile selected publicly traded and privately held companies on our program.
Most of these companies that we profile have provided compensation to Loft 100 Studios and its hosts for the profile coverage.
From time to time, we sell shares of the companies profiled in the open market that we receive as compensation for coverage of client companies.
But never sell stocks if we are speaking about interviewing or covering a public company who has paid compensation.
Specific questions on compensation can be obtained by contacting producer at sullyentgroup.com.
Listeners should verify all claims and do their own due diligence before investing in any securities mentioned on this program.
Investing in securities is speculative and carries a high degree of risk.
We encourage our investors to invest carefully and read the investor information available at the websites on the
Securities and Exchange Commission at sec.gov and or the Financial Industry Regulatory Authority, FINRA, at www.finra.org.
I like it.
Big Biz Show, live from the Loft 100 Studios. Hope you guys are having a great day. Costa, Mary Godwin, Greg Todoroff, and Sully.
Yep. We are brought to you by Prudential. Let Prudential be your rock for retirement. Also brought to you by Bayer Advanced. Better science, better results. Starbucks coffee. I'm hopped up on some right now. Bloomin' Brands and their fine family of restaurants, including the authentic Outback Steakhouse with authentic Australian food. With bloomin' onions growing on the side of the road in Brisbane. Mighty. Thank you, friends. I'm looking so very forward to having Greg Todoroff tell us about our next guest.
Oh.
So,
Dr. Tiago.
Dr. Tiago Reis Marques. Okay.
He is the CEO of Pasithea Therapeutics.
Pasithea Therapeutics.
Ready for their stock symbol?
Yes.
KTTA.
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 Los Angeles. Doesn't it sound like it sounds like?
It does sound, yes, right? Absolutely. Sounds like a news talk station.
Was everybody going for Los Angeles when he said that? In your mind? When he said KTTA? Yeah. When you sang KTTA.
KTTA.
Los Angeles. Was Los Angeles in the back of your mind immediately? Just like
it's 9 o'clock.
Yeah, right, exactly. He is the CEO, once again, of Pasithea Therapeutics. They are publicly traded on NASDAQ. KTTA. They're talking to us about a thing called NF1 disease, which is a rare disease with 100,000 patients in the U.S., and he's going to tell us all about what they are doing and how they are at the forefront of research focusing on therapies for diseases of the central nervous system. And here he is, present him to you via Zoom. Dr. Marques, great to have you along, sir.
So nice to be here in the program. Thank you for the invitation.
So can you take us from the top here and educate us a little bit about the disease and about the platform you guys are developing?
Of course. It will be a pleasure because it's definitely an underserved community. NF1 is a rare disorder. It affects approximately 1 in every 3,000 newborns. So we estimate to around 100,000 patients living with NF1 in the US, so it's not that rare. There's approximately 25,000 patients with ALS, and it's much more known than NF1, and is a genetic disorder, is incurable, and these patients develop a widespread symptoms or in many body systems. But probably to one of the most impactful symptoms is the development of what we call neurofibromas. Neurofibromas, they can show up in the form of plexiform neurofibromas. These are tumors, benign tumors, that arise around the nerve sheath. They are very diffuse. they grow, they cause pain, they cause deformities. Because they are around to nerves, they cause neurological impairment, they cause muscle weakness. So these patients really suffer from these tumors from a very early age. They typically show up around the pediatric age, and then they just continue to grow all over their lives. Some other patients also develop tumors in their skin, on or under the skin, in the forms of bumps and lumps that continues to grow. They can number thousands when they reach late adulthood. And of course, this has an impact in their quality of life. They can be itchy, painful as well. And definitely there's is undeserved, as I mentioned. Until very recently, the only type of treatment was doing surgical resection. So for the plexiform neurofibromas, it's very hard to remove a tumor that wraps around your nerves, and you can cause, of course, neurological damage.
And this is the NF1 disease. Am I accurate in saying that?
NF1 disease.
Okay,
exactly.
so am I accurate in saying, Dr. Marques, that it's 100,000 patients in the U.S. alone every year? Talk to us about what Pasithea Therapeutics is doing.
So until recently, as I was mentioned, there was no treatment apart from surgical resection. 3 to 4 years ago, a drug, a MEK inhibitor, show up and is been approved. It is for the plexiform neurofibromas, leads to tumor reduction, and that's a drug called selumetinib. And it's been approved for the pediatric patients from 2 to 18. There will be another drug, another MEK inhibitor, that is going to be approved for the adult population. But all these drugs have serious limitations in terms of their efficacy, in terms of their side effects, and even in terms of the way they're taking. You need to take them fasting twice a day. So what we're developing here is another MEK inhibitor, but a better MEK inhibitor. It's the first microcycle MEK inhibitor that we're bringing to clinical trials. It has better properties, and we're going to be able, hopefully, to have a better drug with better potency, better safety, better tolerability, leading to better compliance. So we're very optimistic about the qualities of our drug. We think we have a better MEK. We know that these drugs work, but there will be an incremental improvement for these patients by bringing a better drug than existing ones.
So, Dr. Marques, as a company, where are you right now, and where do you expect to go here for the rest of this year? In as much as you can tell us as the CEO of a public company, but obviously, what's next for you folks?
Great question. We just start our clinical trials with our drugs, so we test our drugs in patients. MEK inhibitors, they can work in a variety of disorders. So we're starting to test them in oncology, in malignant cancers that have mutations in this pathway that is called the MAPK pathway. And soon after, we're going still this year to start clinical trials in the NF1 community. We're going to start our dose escalation in plexiform neurofibroma. So our development is laser focused in NF1 to bring a better, newer drug for these patients.
Dr. Marques, is this something, going back to, you mentioned in the pediatric age, is this something that manifests itself like immediately after birth, or is there a period of time before someone says, hey, there might be an issue here?
It's great questions. First, it's only impact 30 to 50% of patients. So not all patients have these tumors. But it can show at very early age, as young as 2 years old. Okay. They can start to develop a plexiform neurofibroma. Then they grow. They grow faster than the body is growing as a child. And then it starts to have impact because they cause deformity, they cause pain. The kids suffer also from the side effects of the existing drugs. So it's very impactful. And when we talk to family members, they complain either about the efficacy or about the side effect profile, or even just because the kids need to fast twice a day.
Oh my gosh.
You have parents and the fast 3 hours. So if you have kids, you know how difficult it is to avoid them to be constantly eating something. So you have parents waking kids at 5 a.m. so that they can eat something. And they can take the drug then sleep a bit more for the fasting period, and then take breakfast before going to school. So it's definitely it's great that MEC work. It's great that there's a drug for the treatment of these plexiform neurofibromas. But like in all over medicine, a better drug is what comes after, and we think we have it.
His name, I'll tell you what, and I certainly hope you do, because it sounds like a horrible disease, and it looks like you guys are making headway there. His name is Dr. Tiago Reis Marques. He is the CEO of Pasithea Therapeutics, stock symbol KTA. Will you come back on with us and spend some more time on this? I think we need more time with you next time, but we'd love to have you back. Once again, the stock symbol KTTA. Thank you, Dr. Marques. Wow. I hate talking about diseases that have to do with kids.
Oh, totally.
I'd rather have lifestyle diseases like Mike, you know, all bad decisions,
Yep.
Your life is a sum of your decisions,
When the whole being is a tumor.
You could have been, Superman, but
anything.
Bad decision here, fire Cheetos here, Funyuns here. All right, very good.
Speaking of Funyuns, I ate a whole bag the other day in the car.
You had a whole bag of what?
Onions.
Oh, I know you did.
On my fingers, rings.
More Biz Show to come. Stand by.
I used to do that.
It is the Big Biz Show, live from the Loft 100 studios here in somewhat sunny, somewhat rainy Southern California, wherever you're listening, watching. Hope you're having a great day. Costa, Mary Burke Godwin, executive producer Greg Todoroff, and Sully.
Hey.
How you doing?
Good.
What's happening?
We got a busy show today. I want to get right to it. Steve Brady is the CEO of Tempest Therapeutics, of course, a regular guest in the program. We had a good chance to sit down with him at JP Morgan conference, and boy, what a difference at JP Morgan this year. Last year, JP Morgan said biotech was going to drop off the face of it. This year, it's been fantastic. However, an interesting thing happened because during all the changes in biotech last year, everybody had to sort of reprice their expectations at the end of January, which has made it very difficult for biotech firms to raise money in the first quarter of this year. So the latest news has been there'll be lots of money on the horizon, but right now these companies have got to stick with what's the positive news they've had, sort of leaning on their laurels. And Steve Brady's one such company that can do that because he's had nothing but great news. Steve, great to see you today. Welcome to the show. What's the latest, man? You're curing cancer. You're saving lives, dude.
Thank you very much for having me back, first of all. And that is what we are trying to do. Exactly. And you're right, Sully. It was a different JP Morgan for Tempest this year. Not only was the sentiment better broadly for the sector, but we showed up with randomized phase 2 data in liver cancer. So that sets up a very different set of conversations.
So in given that, talk about the difference between last year and this year. Then all of a sudden, talk about the first quarter of 2024 and what the sentiment is with you guys and what's happening next.
Well, the sentiment at JP Morgan was completely different than the last two JP Morgans, right? I mean, as you mentioned, last January was doom and gloom. This one it just felt like a whole bunch of people wanting to get back to work, financing companies that have data. And the sentiment that we heard specifically for us was it must be good to be you guys here and able to talk to people about having these randomized data and what comes next for the company. And that's a pivotal study in liver cancer, first-line liver cancer.
Steve, as the CEO, whether it's doom and gloom or it's great news, is the message to the troops always, hey, nose to the grindstone, just keep pressing on, don't listen to what they're saying?
Mike, absolutely. We're data-driven people, by our wiring, right? And so when you have positive data like this, and as you guys know, we had these data. We tried to tell everybody that we thought the data we were going to release were going to be good, and we had a ridiculous market cap.
Yeah.
So yeah, last year was exactly what you just said. We kept having to look in the mirror and say, it doesn't matter what they're saying. We know we're helping patients. We have gold standard data here, and people will recognize that. And everybody saw what happened in October, and now we're rolling into this year with a ton of energy.
Hey, Steve, talk about the lead drug candidate.
Yeah, so it's called TPST 1120, and we didn't go into the background of the company, but Tempest has 4 programs ranging from very early stage research, which is on a target that we're not sure anybody's working on for cancer, all the way up to 1120, which is right now post phase 2, proof of concept data, randomized data. It is what's called a PPAR alpha, and this means it's targeting a target called PPAR alpha. And one of the things that's really exciting about this, and why we think we're seeing what we're seeing in liver cancer, is that this target is expressed not only on liver cancer cells, but also on cells in your immune system. And one of the things that got me excited when I first joined the company was that these 2 lead programs that are in the clinic were designed to have this dual mechanism of action. A lot of things will either work on the immune system or they'll hit a cell directly. And 1120 is designed to do both. And that could be what's happening, why it's working.
With respect to that, so you talk about gold standard data. What's next with respect to the story with the FDA?
Yeah, so great question. So that's 100% everybody's full speed ahead getting ready for those conversations this year. There's a series of regulatory conversations that we plan to have this year, and it won't just be with the FDA. This is a global indication. Liver cancer, it's around almost 400,000 new cases a year globally. It's massive. And it's one of the few cancer types that's growing. A lot of cancers, as you know, we're making inroads, whether it's lifestyle or drugs, and they're shrinking, not liver cancer, not for the foreseeable future. So our next steps are to finalize the design of that phase 3 and start it as fast as we can.
Hey, Steve, you've got 3 additional programs. Let's talk a little bit about TPST 1495.
Yeah, so 1495 is completely different. We joked about ibuprofen and some of us who kind of live on it. 1495 is in a pathway called the prostaglandin pathway. It is also designed to have that dual mechanism where it hits cells directly and uses the immune system. And that's behind, obviously, 1120. That's in a much more narrow, focused set of studies. And then we have 2 research programs. One in that's TREX1 in the STING pathway, which you may have heard is a pretty high interest target amongst big pharma and biotech. And the 4th one we haven't disclosed because, like I said, we're not sure anybody's working on it, and we want to make sure we're the furthest when we open that and talk about it.
Last of all, with respect to 2024, anything specific that's leading as far as your attention? Is it still TPST 1120, or is it something?
Oh yeah, I mean, Sully, 1120 is a company and a program.
Yeah.
I mean, based on the data we have, everybody's talking to us about liver cancer, but then the next thing out of their mouth is renal cancer.
Yeah.
We presented data, positive data in our phase 1 in RCC. People want us to look there. We want to look there. So it's potentially a multi-cancer molecule.
When do you find that out? When do you start getting confirmation of those types of things, where it's not just a matter of let's look over here, let's actually put some resources towards here?
So that would be this year as well. And like you just said, resources. If the capital markets come back the way they should and they're driven by data, we would try to start another randomized study, probably randomized phase 2, just like we did in liver. We would start that in renal cancer and get it going as fast as we can. We have really interesting data there. And just like liver cancer, it should work in renal cancer. So the science here that was the origin of the program is matching with the medicine and the data that we're seeing in people.
Any other cancers beyond that you can hint to, or is it just conjecture at that point?
Well, I mean, the scientist would say it's conjecture because we don't have the data. But when TPST 1120 was started inside Tempest, it started out as a hematologic malignancy or a blood cancer. And everything we're doing, liver and renal, are solid tumors. And so we'd absolutely love to look back and see, is this going to work in blood cancers as well? Like I said, it could be a company and a program.
Yeah, exactly. His name is Steve Brady. Steve Brady, of course, is the CEO of Tempest Therapeutics. Tempest Therapeutics. Stock symbol TPST. Innovative, targeted, and immune-mediated cancer therapies. Fantastic stuff. He's finding a cure for liver cancer.
That's unbelievable. And he's Tom's better-looking brother.
Yes, he is. I love his work. With the
Mike
pads.
slid that in there.
Big Biz Show. More to come.